I want to give you suggestions today on what to write in your journal. And let me say, first of all, you can write about anything. Don't be afraid to write anything. To get rid of the fear of the blank page, I suggest you write the date at the top of the page. Then, if you're starting a journal for the first time, you can write a sentence like, "I'm beginning this journal," or "This is my first journal." And this will get rid of the blank page and get rid of that fear of the blank page. And the things I'll write in my journal include things like my day. And I'll list times and what I did throughout the day, sort of like a day in the life snapshot. I'll write down the times, and I'll write down what I did, like 6 to 6:30, I took a shower, 6:30, 6:45, I got dressed. And you can go through the entire day like that, writing down the times and what you did. And this will leave kind of a snapshot for your children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren even of what a typical day for you was like. Another thing I'll write in the journal is I'll write angry. I'll complain and yell when something bad happens or something goes wrong or I'm mad at someone. And this is the kind of thing where you can write in any size that you want. If you're just angry and you're like, "I can't stand it anymore," and just write really big letters. Express your anger right on the page and get it out of your system. Another thing I'll do is I'll write letters to imaginary friends or even letters to people, but I never send them. I'll just leave it in the journal and let it sit there. And it's just kind of a reminder of things that I wanted to talk about to myself. Another thing I'll write is memories and stories from when I was a kid. Different things that happened to me, trips I went on, how I used to play as a kid, games I played, activities I did, people I knew, the friends I had, all sorts of stuff. You can cover all sorts of topics there. The different schools you may have gone to, moving, if you moved when you were a kid, anything like that. Another thing I'll write down in the journal is sometimes I'll write newsworthy events that happened on certain days. For example, like February 24th, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine and a war has begun, or a hurricane has hit New Orleans, or people have landed on the moon for the first time in decades. And sometimes I'll write bullet points. If I don't have much to say, but I want to write something, I'll put a bullet point in and write a sentence or two. You can just make a little bullet point. You say, "I was really tired today and fell asleep at work," or "I'm sick and I have a cold." And you can just leave it like that with just one sentence on the page or 2 or 3 bullet points. And that's your entry for the day. Other things I'll write about is family members or friends who have died. I'll write down my memories about them and things we did together and what I miss about them. And you can write, "I remember my grandmother did this, or my grandfather did this, or they used to say this or that, or they grew up somewhere. My parents used to do something." About your aunts and uncles, great-grandparents, if they were alive when you were a kid. Another thing I'll write about is mental difficulties I'm having, like being sad or depressed or being blissfully happy. Why it happened and how those things happened and how they're affecting me. Another thing I'll write about is book characters and how they've impacted my thoughts or things I may have learned from them. What I liked or disliked about them. And another thing I'll write about is movies sometimes and how they impacted me, how I felt about them, and what I liked or didn't like about the movie. You can write about crushes or love affairs. How the affair was, how long it lasted, is it still going on, has it ended, and how it impacted you. Was it a beautiful love affair or a monstrous disaster in your life? Next thing I'll write is lists. I'll write lists of things, books I want to read or have read. Same thing with movies. I'll write movies I watched or want to watch. I'll list things I want to buy, or places I want to visit, or things I want to accomplish. You can go on with lists. You can write lists about pretty much anything. Another thing I'll write is quotes, either from people I know that I thought were interesting or caught my attention, or I'll write quotes from books or magazines, or even quotes from famous people just to record them in the journal. I'll write about my fears, fear of death, fears that are holding me back from doing things. The fear about the dog down the street that keeps chasing me when I walk down the street. You can write about anything. Oftentimes I'll write anthropological entries. And what I mean by that is I'll write about food I ate, clothing I wear, or how I do things around the house. And not just what it was or is, for example. I might write, I ate a bagel with butter for breakfast. But then I'll describe what a bagel is. A bagel is a ring of yeasted dough that is boiled in water for a short time and then baked in an oven. An oven is a device that is square and insulated and either heated by electricity, natural gas, or burning wood, and is used to maintain a constant temperature to cook and bake food items. You could go on like this. This type of entry is sort of what I'll write for future generations. Maybe 200 years, 300, 400, 500 years from now. These people may not even know what these things were that we're using now in this century. Sometimes I'll make up dialogues between two people and I'll write out a conversation. Sometimes I'll write real dialogues or conversations that I had with people living in my life. And I might write down their name, let's say Bob, and then I'll write what he said, and then I'll write Joe, what he said, and Bob said this, Joe said that, and Bob, and go back and forth and write out a dialogue. And I often write about my kids. I write about them growing up, the things that they do, how they act, how they respond to things, what they eat or don't eat, things they like or dislike, activities you did with them or sports that they played, places you went with them, and activities that you did while you were traveling with them. The list could go on, but I think this gives you an idea that you can write anything you want in any way that you want. You can write in big or small handwriting, depending on your mood, and you can write in multiple colors if you want, using different pens. But this should get you started, and I hope it gives you ideas to start writing in your journal. So good luck and good journaling. Bye.